Okay, what are the attributes, everybody? What are the variables that we need to collect data on? আমরা কিসের উপর data collect করব? Challenges, what kind of challenges? What kind of challenges they face here? What are the two main challenge types that we have? Subjective and objective, but the variable is what? Challenges, right? But if we have categorized the variable into two, subjective and objective. So that is there in the research question, right? So we need to have the variables in the research question or not? Yes? Yes? A louder yes? Yes. Okay.
Hello.
Now I have two mics. Okay, I have two cute looking mics, one attached to me and another in my hand. I hope this draws your attention. Can you hear me? Okay. Yes?
You can wear it here.
Oh, really? I don't know about that. Okay, so moving on. Now that you have successfully identified the variables, let's look into qualitative research questions. We looked into quantitative research question. How can we write a quantitative research question? Let's look into how we can write a qualitative research question. Qualitative study will take into account the central concept or phenomenon of the study when forming research question. So, central concept rings any bell, everybody? What is the central concept or central phenomenon? The topic, the issue. So, remember, qualitative research will try to cover all possible sides of an event, so focusing on a small group will help in answering the research questions comprehensively. So, why do we go for a small sample size in a qualitative research? Because the questions are open-ended, and because why is it echoing? And because we look at all possible sides when describing an event or a central phenomenon in a qualitative research. So when writing a qualitative research question, we have to think about the topic, the central phenomenon. For example, a research on the role of feedback in a productive skill classroom may question what role does feedback play in speaking activities, what role does feedback play in writing activities. It can, right? It can. Productive skill মানে কি? Yes, right. You're right. Scattered answer কেন? সবাই একসাথে বলবো writing and speaking. So, activity হচ্ছে, what is the central phenomenon in these research questions, everybody? What is the central phenomenon in qualitative research in terms of these two research questions? Productive skill, right? Productive skill. That's the phenomenon we are going to describe and we are going to look into. All right, moving on. Data collection. Data collection will look into from two sides, qualitative and quantitative, as you know. Data collection for a research does not simply mean gathering information to find answers for your research questions, or it does not simply mean administering data collection. It also means thinking about the population you are going to narrow down from, thinking about the target group that you are going to take into account in terms of data collection, and it also means getting permission from the correct authority to conduct data collection. It also means moving forward with, it's gone again. Okay, it's on again. All right, what type of information you want to gather? Locating or generating instruments for data collection, obtaining permission, and then moving forward with data collection. So, are you still with me, everybody? Data collection? All right, don't lose focus now because তীরে এসে তরি ডুবিও না. Okay, quantitative data collection.
Just a second.
Yes, sir.
Not use your hand without the microphone. So, forget it.
Okay, sir. এটা বন্ধই করে দেন because there's একটা noise আছে.
By this time পর্যন্ত কি করতে পারেন তাহলে একটু দেখেন না হলে থাকবে.
Does this work, Abir? Okay, so quantitative data collection, a population we first have to clear a few concepts. For example, what is a population? What is a sample? Do you know about these concepts? Yes, you do, right? Nammi matha nachcho keno? Jore jore nodding no. So a population, what is a population? You don't have to look farther, just look at the slide. A population consists of a group of individuals who possess the attributes that are typical or representative of that particular population under study. So for example, us, we can be considered a target group or a target population because we have the same academic backgrounds, all of us, all of you at least. So you are a representative sample, you are a representative group for certain researches. For example, a research on IML probably, a research on
noise from population.
the noise pollution in IML. Alright, so however, in most cases, in both qualitative and quantitative research, you cannot select the entire target population. For example, if I wanted to conduct a qualitative study right now, I cannot unfortunately choose all of you as my sample. I have to make a sampling strategy and I have to select a few of you for my focus group discussion or something. So, you cannot select the entire target population for your study and may have to come up with a reduced subgroup of the target population. This subgroup of people off kore den. Okay, so this subgroup of people possess the representative characteristics necessary for your study and can help you generalize and draw conclusions using the results of your research. Ma'am? It sounds like a... Okay. Okay. So, I hope it doesn't start sounding like a Tamil movie soon. Anyway, this subgroup of people possesses the representative characteristics necessary for your study and can help you generalize and draw conclusions using the results of your research. So, I was just reading out from the slide, but let me tell you what subgroup of population mean. The subgroup of population would be our sample. So, for example, we have the entirety of you and I recommend, for example, 10 people from this row that I will conduct the research on them. That's my target group, that's my reduced subgroup and I would call it my sample for this study. So, the entirety of you won't be included in my study, although you have the representative qualities that I need for my study, but due to the research constraints and time issues, other limitations, I cannot. So,
Call it then sampling unit?
sure, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, this is called sampling. Moving on. Sampling approaches to consider as a newbie researcher. So, it's not like we would use all of them, but we need to know about them. At least know that they exist in order for us to be aware that whatever sampling that I am using, that is the only way that I can be most benefited. Alright, researchers can employ probability and non-probability sampling in what kind of research? Quantitative research. So, a probability and non-probability sampling, as the name suggests, are very easy. One is representative, another is not as representative, does not have all the attributes, all the variables, all the representative attributes necessary in a population, but that's why it's called non-probability. We'll look into these individually. Probability sampling helps select individuals who are representative of that population. As I said, there are three types of sampling you can consider here. What are they? Simple random sampling, stratified sampling, and multi-stage cluster sampling. There are cute pictures here in order to just, look at something visual. Simple random sampling, in which a number is assigned. For example, I assign the number 1 to Abir and I just randomly assign the number 2 to Choiti, and again I randomly assign the number 4 to Limon and 3 and every other number throughout this class. I don't know. Then I just randomly sample out few participants. I don't know their numbers. I don't know which ones are they. That's what we call,
Device?
ma'am.
Can you use lottery device?
Yes, ma'am, we can. That could be a nice tool. All right. Simple random sampling would be like that. Stratified sampling, in which the researcher divides the population in terms of some characteristics and then conducts simple random sampling. For example, this group has good handwriting. This group has good speaking skill. That group has probably good reading abilities. So I have, in terms of your characteristics, I have divided you, and then I conduct simple random sampling by assigning some numbers and then picking you up from each group. All right, multi-stage cluster, in which researcher chooses sample in multiple stages and then choose random sampling. So random sampling is very basic, right? This might be something that we can right now use and won't be wrong about it. Next, non-probability sampling. It helps select individuals who are available, convenient, who are readily available, convenient, and represent some characteristics of representation. So some characteristics the researcher intends to study. For example, I want to study a writing class, and I go ahead and go into a course that's advanced writing, or teaching the 4 skills, or teaching the productive skills. Then I have already focused target population, and then I can move on to non-probability sampling by just saying, okay, who volunteers? Do you want to volunteer for my study? And some of you stand up. So that's my non-probability sampling. There are 2 popular types: convenience sampling, snowball sampling. Convenience sampling is in which participants are selected because they are willing and available for the study. They want to, and they just happen to be there. This might not include a representative sample because they are just readily available. They are not as representative, as good a data set as we want them to be, but they are convenient. Snowball sampling, in which researcher asks participants to identify others who would be interested, identify others who can be ideal participants to participate in that research. So let us look at this activity. Identify the type of non-probability sampling from these examples. এই দুইটা এক্সাম্পল থেকে নন প্রবাবিলিটি স্যাম্পলিং এর কোনটা কোথায় ইউজ হচ্ছে আমাকে একটু বলো। কোনটা কনভিনিয়েন্স, কোনটা স্নোবল? টেক 2 minutes.
Yes, he has got the answer.
You sure? Right answer.
Volunteers.
Yes.
If you don't understand, you may ask her to repeat it again, but you have to understand and answer.
Read it out. Read the slide.
Okay, so non-probability sampling, the 2 examples are, first of all, you have prepared a survey questionnaire using Google Forms and have asked the CR of your class to forward it to others. And secondly, the researcher decides to collect data from an undergraduate advanced writing class because the researcher is a graduate student at the university, so it is convenient. The research is also on writing skill development. Yes, right? Why? The first one is snowball. Why? Yes, the CR nominates the participants, right? Okay, thank you, and that was very well done. Okay, so yes, congratulations. The research is half done. All right. Okay, so locating and developing an instrument. So far we have looked into how to sample our data, how to come to that target population from which we want to collect the data. Now we need to have that instrument, have the tool to collect data with. So in quantitative and qualitative, both approaches have their own kind of instruments. We are now covering the quantitative instrument. Let us not forget that. All right. Instruments are tools for data collection. In quantitative research, a researcher will collect measurable numerical data by asking closed-ended questions. So far so good? We know that, right? All right. The tools for such data would be multiple choice questions. We knew that too, right? comma, using surveys, polls, questionnaires, etc. We also have Likert scale statements, right, that we use in quantitative research, right? You know about Likert scale, right? Right? Yes? No? Okay. If it's no, there's no problem. You can either locate an instrument that suit your research questions from reading research articles of similar interest, or you can develop your own instrument using Google Forms or similar softwares that can help you in this regard. Sir? Of course, sir. No
How
problem.
many of you have not heard the name of Likert scale?
Be honest.
Perhaps you have forgotten.
And how many of you have heard? Raise your hands.
I think they need to make it. They need to have a class.
এই জন্যই আমার ক্লাস দরকার। আমি যাদেরকে আমার গ্রুপে যারা ছিল তাদেরকে তো আমি বলেছিলাম লাইক স্কিল কতগুলোকে দিয়েছি। ওকে সরি ম্যাডাম।
No, sir. They
Try to
can't
recollect it after the exam.
hurry up, people. Recollect soon, faster.
Yes.
Don't become Gajnis. All right. Yeah.
Become Nemo. Forget it.
Or mementos, I don't know. Okay, locating or developing instrument. So as I was mentioning that quantitative research uses certain instrument types that promote closed-ended questions such as multiple choice, to polls, to questionnaires, and Likert scale statements. You can either locate an instrument that suit your research question, তুমি এটা পেতে পারো কোথাও থেকে, তুমি ডাউনলোড করতে পারো, which really goes with your research. There are ready instruments out there on online, but you can also make or customize your own instruments. You can also make your own research questionnaires, which is ideal to do, and since we are beginners, we should have a hands-on practice on this. So Google Forms go a long way in this. I think I have used Google Form in my first research, so that is something I used. And you know, Microsoft Word is always there at our convenience, and I think those of you who are afraid of technology or whatever, Microsoft Word isn't that daunting. Yes, Sir can vouch for that. So you just go to Microsoft Word, there's an option called insert, and you can make tables. Just select the number of tables you want, just the columns and the rows you want, click, you will have a sort of a skeleton there. So it's nothing to be scared of at all. All right. Either way, a major part of developing your instrument lies in knowing what type of questions to set or what type of data to collect. So you know that there should be an instrument, but you need to know what questions to ask. You need to know how to ask those questions, which is something we find very daunting. So let us look into this. Another important factor is knowing the scales of measurement. So how do we scale? How do we add value to the response options? That's important. For example, scales of measurement, let us go serially.
Just a second.
Sir, no problem.
Just you are talking about the type of question that they need to ask.
Yes, sir.
And I am trying to give you an example from my real life experience.
Okay, sir.
I assigned one of my research scholar.
Please, sir.
And the title was something like that: challenges that teachers are facing while implementing CLT.
Okay.
And when he returned, he said that, sir, I collected data, but I didn't find any data. Why? Because the school teachers, they don't know anything about CLT.
Oh God.
So this actually forced
Yes,
us
sir.
to arrange these types of sessions. Hope now you understand how to ask question, what type of question you should ask, and how to collect the data. Clear? Yes, sir.
Sometimes you need to interpret them that what is CLT if you face such problem. Perhaps they are applying without knowing, but let them know.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry.
No, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for the inputs, and I think they have received the message. All right. Scales of measurement are response options. So, in your, for example, in your Likert scale statement or in your multiple choice questionnaire, you give them certain options to choose from, right? They are not just unguided. because that way it would be a qualitative research. They are guided, hence it is quantitative. So since there are response options, we call these scales of measurement. How we organize those response options. Where did we come up with those response options? Alright. So, for example, to ascertain the demographic information of a participant, researchers ask questions regarding that participant's family, income, children, how many children they have, and personal information. So, it creates a demographic chart in the researcher's mind before they go into the actual data. Okay, sir. Okay. So, there are two basic types of scales of measurement, categorical scales and continuous scales. I will not go into the nitty-gritties of these, but keep in mind how many? Mainly two, categorical and continuous. Okay. So, categorical are again two types, nominal, ordinal. Continuous are two types, continuous scales, quasi-interval and ratio scale. So, these are the types. For example, in categorical, you will have definite categories to choose from. For example, yes-no questions. For example, there are three questions, three options to choose from. Those are categorical. And ordinal scales would be response options where participants choose from a rank order, from best to worst or worst to best, or there is a rank, there is a hierarchy you need to choose from. For example, তুমি বললা যে তুমি কিভাবে সবচেয়ে ভালো শিখতে পারো. Someone said lecture based, someone said I follow virtual classes, someone said I tend to study at home. So from the preferred options are there from worst to best or best to worst. Continuous scales provide continuous response options with equal interval or distance between the options. What did I just say? Equal distribution, right? Equal values are there between each response options. For example, strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree, right? There is an equal distribution of value among all these response options. When you score these data, you go from 5, 4, 3 to 1, depending on what is best suited, what is it that you want to bring out from these answers. তোমার যদি লাগে strongly disagree বেশি, তাহলে তুমি ওইটাকে সবচেয়ে বেশি স্কোর দিতে পারো। তোমার যদি লাগে strongly agree বেশি, তাহলে তুমি ওইটাকে বেশি স্কোর দিবে, যাতে যখন you have the measured data, you have the numbers, then you have তোমার hypothesis proof করার জন্য enough substance, enough scores. Alright, we'll go into that later. And ratio scale is if you have a true zero in the option. For example, income, $0 to $1,000, etc. There's an activity which is pretty straightforward. Identify the scales of measurement used in these examples. You can do it. কোনটাতে কোন scale of measurement use হয়েছে? 1 minute. We know the answer? Yes? You at the back. Yes. Can you help us with the answer? Are you from our department? Are you from BBA? So far, are you with us? Do you understand? Is there any problem with understanding? Okay, thank you. All right, so you. I forgot your name. No, not you. You. Yes, you. Yeah, which one? Number A, which type of scales of measurement did it use? Let us go back to the previous slide, right? Secondটা categorical, firstটা continuous. Sabit. That's the same thing. That's what she said. Nammi?
Yes, well, first one is categorical and that's ordinal.
Yes.
And the second one is continuous, which is quasi-interval.
Quasi-interval, right? Or interval. Why? Because best to worst র্যাঙ্ক করছে নাম্বার 1.
Give her a big hand.
Thank you.
Yes.
Namya.
Thank you, Namya, and also thanks for attending. Sabid, next টা পারতে হবে, okay? Moving on, analyzing quantitative data. We are trying to wrap it up. Anyway, analyzing quantitative data, scoring the data. So now you have your data sets. Now you have collected, administered data collection procedure. Now you move on to scoring that data and numbering, adding values, adding numbers to those data so that you can actually move into analyzing. So when you create instruments, it is important to assign scores to your response options. Response option যে আমাদের একটু আগে যেগুলো ছিল অর্ডিনাল, তারপরে কোয়াজা ইন্টারভাল, ওগুলোর প্রত্যেকটা will have a number assigned to them, a value assigned to them. For example, I said that strongly agree যদি 5 হয়, if that helps your research to prove, then strongly disagree would be 0 or 1, right? Alright, so keeping that in mind, as you already know, there are categorical and continuous response types that you can create. When designing instruments, depending on your research questions and hypothesis, you will be able to assign values to each question you set in your questionnaire. For example, in the question, what level do you teach? The categorical response options would be primary school, tertiary level, high school. So if you go from small level to bigger levels, or small to large, then we have number 3, the most numbers assigned to tertiary, 2 high school, and 1 to primary. এভাবে আমরা ডাটাকে স্কোর করেছি. In that way, those participants who choose tertiary gets highest score, and আমরা ধরে নিতে পারি that's the response option, that's the answer that the researcher is looking for. So on this question, and who can choose tertiary gets high score on this question, and that is how you get measurable results for a certain variable in a quantitative research. The details of how you scored your data will be included in the methodology. So tomar methodology, there are certain sections that you need to include, you know that, right? Settings of data collection, time, that falls under setting actually, then the tools used, for example questionnaire, what type of questionnaire, then the data analysis process, if you use a software, what software, all of those go into your methodology. All right, just keep that in mind because you already know about it. Yes.
Will you repeat it, please?
Yes. Which one?
What we include in research methodology.
Okay, so in research methodology, in methodology section, which comes after our research questions or our hypothesis section, after the literature review and all that. So in methodology, you have the settings. So in the settings, you have the time, place of the research or the data collection venue, and then you have the participants. The participants that actually was your sample that you sampled from. In that section, you have to mention and go into as much detail as possible. For example, if it's male and female, how many male, how many females, and if it's someone from this university, which institution, or which age group, etc., etc. So all these brackets need to be fulfilled when you are describing your methodology, and then you move on to data collection process that you used. For example, if you use quantitative or qualitative method, then that has to go there in your methodology, that should not be missed. And then you have to go into details of that. What else? কোয়ালিটেটিভ হলে আমি কোন কোয়ালিটেটিভ হলে আমি কোন স্কেলস অফ মেজারমেন্ট ইউজ করেছি, কোয়ান্টিটেটিভ হলে আমি কোন স্কেলস অফ মেজারমেন্ট ইউজ করেছি, আমি যদি কোয়াজা ইন্টারভাল ইউজ করে থাকি, দেন উইচ সোর্ট অফ ডেটা অ্যানালাইসিস সফটওয়্যার ডিড আই ইউজ টু অ্যানালাইজ মাই ডেটা. For example, in terms of qualitative, it would be SPSS, and in terms of in terms of quantitative, it could be SPSS. In terms of qualitative, it could be NVivo and other softwares that are there. All right.
Computer system
Analyzing, yes ma'am. Analyzing quantitative data. When you are done collecting data through surveys, questionnaires and polls, you will need to organize the data in a software or a statistical program of your choice. So the softwares that are commonly used in inputting and analyzing quantitative are SPSS, SAS, these are there. Some are paid, some are unpaid. You should go, and I think if you have the time, you should learn once and for all SPSS, some of the functions at least if you can, because it goes a long way, it helps. And we have SPSS expert among us. Orpita ma'am knows good SPSS skills, have good SPSS skills, so you can just attack her. Anyway, for example, SPSS has features that can make data input quite easy. আমরা এরপর একটা চার্ট দেখব. We will see a chart where an SPSS data set has been given input on an SPSS chart. So we will look into that chart, and this description will make a lot more sense. But let's still go through it. For example, SPSS has features that can make data input quite easy. You can see that you can edit column heads and name them according to your variables. For example, amar kache jodi I have 5 research questions. Those 5 research questions could be called, each one could be called a variable. In that case, each research question er jonno I could make a column in the SPSS chart. I could say variable 1. It would mean research question 1 to, sorry, it could mean questionnaire question 1 to me. If I say variable 2, it could mean the second question on the questionnaire. If I say variable 3, it could mean the third theme of the questionnaire in my question, of the questions in my questionnaire. For example, you can add values and numbers. You can name each question or on your questionnaires as one variable, or put them under groups of variables. In that case, all the questions will have their own column. So are you seeing what I'm trying to say here? Let me just show you. This is, for example, a data that has been put into, oh my god, into this SPSS format, and this is a page from the software SPSS, and you can see that there are certain columns. Can you see the ID?
Yes.
No.
You
Okay.
You can skip SPSS.
Okay.
They will be in the
Okay, sir.
মানে SPSS এর উপর আলাদা একটা ইয়ে করতে
True, sir. True, sir.
হাতে কলমে আর কি একটু দেখে
পারবে না।
Yes. So just from the top of my mind, উপরে দেখো কয়েকটা কলাম নেমস আছে, জেন্ডার, গ্রেড, তারপরে প্যারেন্টস, স্মোকিং, এবিলিটি এটসেট্রা। সো এগুলো যদি তোমার ভ্যারিয়েবলস হয়, আন্ডার দিস তোমার কিছু কোয়েশ্চেন্স ছিল, সেগুলোর নাম্বারগুলো এখানে যোগ করা হয়েছে। So the values that you see here are the total number of questions someone answered in terms of these variables, the questions that relate to these variables, and ওগুলোতে যেই রেসপন্স ভ্যালু অ্যাড করা ছিল সেগুলো যোগ করে আমরা এখানে ধরো 50 লিখেছি ফর পার্টিসিপেন্ট 1। তোমরা বাম পাশে at the leftmost side, at the leftmost corner you can see the participants. How many participants are there? 50, right? So this is how you somewhat organize your data in an SPSS.
And regarding SPSS, I don't know anything about SPSS, and I'm not worried about it, because without knowing SPSS, you may take help from a statistician by spending some money. Do you understand me? You will provide the data. You will provide the data, and you take help from any statistician, but you have